What if I told you that 85% of people never act on their creative ideas? That means most people are sitting on untapped potential, waiting for permission that never comes. The truth is, creative people don't wait for a yes from others, they make things happen on their own. In this video, we're going to uncover why waiting for approval can actually hold you back and how you can start tapping into your creativity today. You'll discover why the most successful creatives don't ask for permission, how you can break free from the myth of validation, and why embracing failure can be your best move yet. Get ready to challenge everything you've been told about creativity. No more waiting, it's time to take control of your own creative journey. Chapter 1. The Myth of Waiting. Breaking the chains of creative approval. Creativity isn't about waiting for the green light. In fact, one of the biggest myths in the creative world is that you need approval or permission to start. But guess what? You don't. Many people wait for someone to tell them it's okay to be creative, whether it's a boss, teacher, or friend. This waiting game often leads to missed opportunities and self-doubt. The truth is, creative people act on their ideas immediately, often without asking for permission. Think about the late Steve Jobs, co-founder of Apple. He didn't wait for a formal yes to create the iPhone, a product that changed the world. He trusted his vision. When you wait for external validation, you're putting the brakes on your creativity. According to a study from the Journal of Creative Behavior, people who procrastinate, waiting for approval, tend to have lower creativity scores. So, stop waiting. Start creating now, even if you're unsure. Perfection isn't the goal, action is. Another key aspect of this myth is the fear of judgment. But remember, the fear of rejection is far more paralyzing than rejection itself. In her book Big Magic, Elizabeth Gilbert says, "You are not required to save the world with your creativity. You are only required to share it. Let your ideas flow without concern for what others think. Let the world see the magic you've created." Waiting for permission is simply delaying greatness. Chapter 2. Permission is overrated. How your best ideas are already inside you. Do you believe that your best ideas come from someone else? It's time to break that belief. Most people are conditioned to think that creativity is external, that we need someone to give us the go-ahead before we can truly create. But in reality, your best ideas are already inside you. They are waiting to be uncovered, not approved. Think about how children approach creativity. They don't ask for permission before drawing on a piece of paper, they just do it. They are naturally curious and explore without hesitation. As adults, we lose that fearless attitude. But we can get it back. A 2020 study in psychology of aesthetics, creativity, and the arts revealed that self-generated ideas are more likely to be successful because they come from a place of personal passion and intrinsic motivation. When we seek validation from others, we often suppress those raw, unfiltered ideas. To tap into your own creative well, start by silencing the external noise. Shut down the inner critic that tells you to wait for permission. Instead, listen to your own instincts. As Maya Angelou famously said, "You can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have." Creativity isn't a limited resource, it's infinite, and it's all yours. The key is trusting yourself and your ideas, even when they seem unconventional. You can also use a simple technique to spark creativity: freewriting. Set a timer for 10 minutes and write whatever comes to your mind, no judgment. The goal is to clear your head and get into a creative flow. Over time, this practice helps you rely on your internal creativity rather than seeking it from outside sources. Chapter 3. Turning no into a yes. Reframing rejection as fuel. Here's a hard truth. Rejection is inevitable. Whether it's a failed project, an ignored pitch, or a no from a potential partner, rejection is part of the creative journey. But here's the catch. Rejection is not the end. It's an opportunity to rethink and refocus. The most creative people don't see rejection as failure, they see it as feedback. Let's take J.K. Rowling, for example. She faced 12 rejections before her Harry Potter manuscript was accepted. Imagine if she had waited for the perfect moment or approval to continue her work. The world would have never known the magic of Hogwarts. According to a study in the Creativity Research Journal, individuals who embrace rejection are more likely to develop greater creative resilience. They view setbacks as a necessary part of the creative process, not as a roadblock. So, instead of letting rejection stop you, reframe it. Every no is a chance to improve your idea and push forward. One strategy to embrace rejection is to practice reframing. For instance, if your idea was rejected, ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? Or, how can I improve? This mindset shift not only helps you grow but also boosts your creative confidence. It allows you to move past the initial disappointment and keep creating. Remember, rejection doesn't diminish your value as a creative person. It simply means that your idea wasn't the right fit at the time. In his book The War of Art, Stephen Pressfield writes, "Resistance will tell you anything to keep you from doing your work. It will perjure, fabricate, falsify, seduce, bully, cajole. Resistance is protean. It will assume any form, be it a fear of rejection, a lack of skill, or a belief that you need permission. Rejection isn't the enemy, it's a stepping stone toward success." So, next time you face a setback, use it as fuel to fuel your fire, not to extinguish it. Keep creating and remember that every no brings you closer to your next breakthrough. If you're finding these tips helpful, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Stay tuned for more insights into how you can unleash your creative potential without waiting for permission. Chapter 4. Create first, ask questions later. The power of starting without a map. A common mistake many people make is waiting for the perfect plan before starting their creative projects. But here's the truth. Sometimes, you need to dive in first and figure things out later. Creative people understand that starting without a detailed roadmap is often where the magic happens. In fact, some of the most famous innovations were born from spontaneous decisions and unfinished ideas. Take the invention of the Post-it note, for example. Spencer Silver, a 3M scientist, was attempting to create a super strong adhesive. Instead, he ended up with a weak one. But rather than discarding the idea, he experimented and found that the weak adhesive could stick to surfaces without leaving a residue. That failure turned into one of the most successful office products in history. If Silver had waited for the perfect idea, we might never have had Post-it notes. Research from the Harvard Business Review reveals that creativity thrives in environments that encourage trial and error. The key is to get started, even if you don't have all the answers. The famous writer Ray Bradbury once said, "You fail only if you stop writing." The same goes for any creative endeavor. If you stop trying, you'll never succeed. One great strategy to embrace this is the fail fast, fail often approach. Instead of waiting for everything to be perfect, launch your idea in its early stages and learn as you go. This allows you to make improvements based on real-world feedback, which is much more valuable than perfectionism. By starting without a map, you also allow space for unexpected discoveries. Creativity isn't about following a strict path, it's about exploring new directions and seeing where they lead. So, take that first step, even if you're unsure. The journey will teach you more than any plan ever could. Chapter 5. Self-made creators. Building your own creative ecosystem. Waiting for opportunities can leave you stagnant. But creative people don't wait, they create their own. They understand that the world won't hand them success, they must build it themselves. That's why they take control of their environment, create their own opportunities, and surround themselves with a supportive creative ecosystem. Consider the example of YouTube. The platform didn't exist as it does today without creators willing to take chances and upload videos. Many famous YouTubers like Casey Neistat built their channels from the ground up, often creating content on topics they were passionate about without waiting for a brand deal or sponsorship. They created their own community, and through consistency and hard work, turned their passion into a business. A study by creative confidence authors Tom Kelly and David Kelly highlights that self-made creators build strong support networks around them. They gather people who believe in their vision, whether it's collaborators, mentors, or fans. The goal is to create an environment where creativity can thrive, free from the constraints of waiting for external validation. One way to build your own creative ecosystem is to start small. Join communities, whether online or offline, that support your craft. If you're a writer, for example, consider joining a writers group or using social media to connect with others in your field. The more you build relationships and share your work, the more opportunities will come your way. Another powerful tool is to create your own personal brand. Share your work, document your creative process, and build an audience that follows your journey. It doesn't matter if you don't have a huge following at first. What matters is that you start building a community that values your creativity. Chapter 6. The permission to experiment. Why being bad is part of the process. Here's the most important truth about creativity. You don't need to be perfect to start. In fact, the best creative people embrace the idea of being bad at something when they begin. Creativity is a learning process, and experimenting, even if it leads to mistakes, is essential. Take Pablo Picasso, for instance. He is considered one of the greatest artists of all time, but his early works were not masterpieces. Picasso went through many phases, exploring different styles and techniques before finding his unique voice. He once said, "I am always doing that which I cannot do, in order that I may learn how to do it." This mindset allowed him to push boundaries and become one of the most innovative artists of the 20th century. Studies show that the most successful creatives embrace experimentation. A study by the Journal of Experimental Psychology found that people who take risks and try new things, even if they fail, are more likely to develop long-term creative success. Trying and failing helps you build skills and resilience, making you more adaptable in future projects. One way to embrace experimentation is by setting aside time for play. Allow yourself to create without the pressure of making something perfect. This could be doodling, writing freely, or experimenting with new tools or mediums. When you focus on the process rather than the outcome, you remove the fear of failure, which often paralyzes creativity. Another strategy is to adopt a growth mindset. Instead of thinking of skills as fixed, view them as something you can develop over time. As Carol Dweck, author of Mindset, explains, the view you adopt for yourself profoundly affects the way you lead your life. With a growth mindset, you're more likely to keep experimenting, even when things don't go as planned. Being willing to be bad at something allows you to grow and push past your comfort zone. When you give yourself permission to experiment and fail, you open up new possibilities and discover new ways to approach your creative projects. These chapters have shown you that creativity isn't about waiting for permission or approval. By diving in without a map, building your own creative ecosystem, and embracing experimentation, you can unlock your true creative potential. If you're ready to keep going and discover even more ways to unleash your creativity, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Stay creative and keep exploring.